essentially a lot of what our focus is going to be as we start today is this quote in Corinthians, we walk by faith, not by sight. And that was kind of a passage Rachel and I threw around a little bit when we were sitting in this building, and it was late June, first part of July, and everything was in disarray, everything was tore up, nobody could find anything. My poor maintenance staff was being worked to the bone to get things done, and as you guys walk around the school today, when we get done, you need to take a look at what people, when they have a mission, can pull off, because most of what was done here to get this ready to add 7th and 8th grade was done by people in this building, primarily our maintenance staff. And so we wanted to make sure that as we start this year, we keep in mind that we are guided not necessarily always by what we see, but we are guided by a faith and a higher calling. And so we want to talk about the future of our Catholic schools. And I'm going to start basically plagiarizing, sorry Mr. Hurdle and Ms. Steckline and other teachers that might be out there that raised me better. But I think it's important that we understand the words from Archbishop Timothy Dolan, who was really concerned about the future of our Catholic schools as they are now. And so I'm going to start by listing some of his information. From the Archbishop: when St. Paul describes the gifts God has given to the Church, he includes teaching among the most important. No surprise there. Go teach was the final mandate of Jesus Christ. History has long taught that without teachers to announce the gospel and educate the young, the Church struggles to survive. Evangelization through good teaching is essential to Catholic life. Pastoral leaders in developing nations say that Catholic education is what attracts people to Jesus and His Church. When it comes to education, nobody has a better track record than the Church and its Catholic schools. In the 20th century, for example, there was no greater witness to the effectiveness of Catholic schools than in the Nazi and communist efforts to destroy them. Pope Benedict XVI's own beloved homeland, where to be Bavarian was to be Catholic, was perhaps hardest hit in all of Germany. By 1939, in January, nearly 10,000 German Catholic schools had been closed or taken over by the Nazi Party. Tyrants know and fear the true strength of Catholic education. What parents begin in the home, Catholic schools must extend to society at large. But what of today's Catholic schools that exist in a world largely free of those sorts of 20th century threats? Are we not facing our own crisis of closure for the Catholic schools in America? The answer, sadly, is yes. Statistics from the National Catholic Education Association tell a sobering tale about Catholic schools in the United States. From a student enrollment in the mid-1960s of more than 5.2 million in nearly 13,000 elementary and secondary Catholic schools across America, there are now only half as many, with just 7,000 schools and 2.1 million students enrolled. I should update that to say 7,001 schools. The reasons for the decline are familiar. The steady drop in vocations to the religious teaching orders, who were the greatest single workforce in the Church's modern period. The drastic shift in demographics of the late 20th century that saw a dramatic drop-off in Catholic immigration from Europe. The rising cost of living since the late 1970s that forced nearly every American parent to become a wage earner and put Catholic education beyond their budget. And the crumbling of an intact neighborhood-based Catholic culture that depended upon the parochial school as its foundations. The most crippling reason, however, may rest in an enormous shift in the thinking of many American Catholics. Namely, that the responsibility for Catholic schools belong only to the parents of the students who attend them and not to the entire Church. Nowadays, Catholics often see a Catholic education as a consumer product, reserved to those who can afford it. The result is predictable. Catholics as a whole in the United States have for some time disowned their school system, excusing themselves as individuals, parishes, and dioceses from any further involvement with a Catholic school, simply because their own children are not enrolled there, or their parish does not have its own school. Those are the words of the Archbishop. Now, how does that relate to us as Catholic teachers? when one of the things that he points out that is missing is obviously the financial support. In challenging American Catholics to rebuild the Catholic school system, Archbishop Dolan insists rightly that the effort be rooted in long-term financial security. Catholic schools in this country will disappear unless we can find a viable economic model that is sustainable over time. But here's where it really impacts what we're trying to do here at our Catholic schools. The other critical issue that also must be addressed if we hope to have vibrant Catholic schools in our future, it is the religious character, identity, and culture that distinguishes Catholic schools and makes them so successful. To meet the challenges of our own time, we need Catholic schools and not simply schools operated by Catholics.